Hi guys, it's Mrs. Sutton. Today we're going to talk about kind of a weird quirkiness of the English language when we're talking about regular past tense verbs. And what I mean by a regular past tense verb, they're regular because they end in an ed, which is our most commonly used past tense. Sometimes our verbs will be irregular, so like one sheep, two sheep, or one mouse, two mice. But we're going to talk about those regular ones, those ones that end in ed. Now, they're still kind of complicated for some of our students because it does end in the same spelling, but it sounds different depending upon the sound that comes right before that. So, for example, here, if we have painted, it's going to end in that id sound. Colored ends in a d sound, and walked ends in a t sound. So we're going to go into that, and I will explain why it does each of these things. There's actually some pretty regular rules about how it works. It's just explaining it in a way that makes sense. So I put this together to just kind of help explain it a little bit better for my students, and I thought I would go through it in a video form for you guys to help it make even more sense than that. So when the word ends in a voiced sound, so any of our sounds that are motor on, and if you look back at one of my videos, I explain voiced versus voiceless. So if you'll just look at that, but our voiced sounds, it will make that d sound. So begged, raised, believed, enrolled. The only exception to this is our D. So if it ends in a D, and I'll explain that in just a minute why that is an exception. Now, if the word ends in an unvoiced sound, like puffed, wished, laughed, worked, it's going to end in that T. The reason there's an exception, because this one also does not happen if the word ends in a T. The reason there's that exception is actually very logical. So if the word ends in a T and we tried to make it end in that T, it would sound like this, wait, which is just strange. So we have to add a vowel between it for it to be able to sound correct. So waited, needed, counted, faded. So really what you could learn as a student, or what you could teach your student, is that if it is voiced, it's going to end in a d sound unless it sounds weird. So, for example, if I did need and that doesn't sound right, I'm going to change it to an id. Needed. Same thing for our unvoiced. If it sounds weird, you change it to that id. So puffed sounds right, but if I said wait and that doesn't work, where you need to add that vowel between it. So waited. So that's one of those weird things. It's something that you've probably never thought about. I never really thought about it until I started teaching this. And it's really nice to know that there really are some regular rules, so hopefully this helps you.